Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. My name is Funmi Owolabi and I'm the principal attorney at the firm. Today's review is going to be on cookies. So we're going to be taking a look at this organization. Before I do anything, I just want to hover over the platform. I'm not familiar with this company. It's Connectivity Cloud delivering 60 networking and service security and performance services. Okay, let's look at the products. So they've got a zero trust. It looks like it's something to do with cybersecurity. So some type of platform facilitating zero trust, and then also a web gateway. So that's interesting to know. Why is it that a privacy lawyer always looks at the products and services first? I guess because the processing of personal data is influenced by the products and services that you offer. This organization, their product includes zero trust network access, secure web gateway. I like to take a look at the products and services personally because I want to know what personal data elements might be in scope. Let's say, for example, it's a healthcare organization and they have a patient portal. The fact that they're going to be processing patient information means that HIPAA, which is a healthcare privacy law on the federal level, may come into scope, right? So understanding the products and services at a minimum gives me some insight. Now, this review is a 10-minute review. There's a lot of detail that goes into a true review for an organization that I do as a lawyer. But I think the value of presenting these videos is businesses should know what goes into creating some of these public-facing documents that are presented on almost every single website. I am yet to come across a website in 2026 that didn't have a privacy notice at least. Now, not all of them have a cookie notice, and it may be because they have addressed the processing associated with cookies in their privacy notice. So there may be that. But I like to look at the products before I go into any public-facing document because it allows me to form an opinion about what might be a consideration for a business. So that's what I personally take a look at it. Now, the first thing I want to identify, this cookie policy was last updated 3 years ago. Now, let's take a look at the principle of transparency. The principle of transparency says, in relation to your privacy practices, you need to be transparent to your consumers about how you process their personal information. Now, the first question I always have when I see notices or policies on a website that are over a year old, can you confirm and verify that the practices associated with cookies on your site are still in line with those from in which your policy was last updated? That's my first question. And the reason that is a crucial question is because the transparency principle requires you to reflect what you're doing internally. If what you're doing internally is not reflected on your policy, notice, or statement, then an organization could put themselves in jeopardy of being non-compliant. Because what you're doing internally is not reflected on what you're doing externally. And they have to align from a privacy perspective based on some overarching privacy principles. So there's a couple things that could be happening here. It may be that nothing has changed since this date. It may be that the processing of cookies as it pertains to what's in scope for this. I mean, we haven't taken a look at what's in scope yet. But essentially, they said here, we use these cookies generally to improve our websites and services. The first question I would have is, has nothing changed about the cookies, the services and websites? And have you made no improvements? If you have made improvements, do they influence how personal data is processed? If it does, if the answer to those two questions is it does, then it needs to be reflected in your public-facing documents, definitely. Now, let's go to scope. Our websites and services use cookies, so we know that both the website and the services use cookies. If the website is the only thing that uses cookies and the services do not, then it needs to be very clear in the public-facing document that a business is presenting. They've also listed here what the cookies are for in order to provide a better service to you, to help keep your account safe and to generally improve our websites and services, right? This is what they are telling you, a consumer, and me, because I'm using their website, right? This is a notice for me. So this applies to me as I interact with the site because cookies are being collected. Now, I don't know which ones are. We're going to go into that in detail in a minute. But the reason that I'm able to discuss this is because I am now a website visitor. And that's why outlining scope is very important. And I'm not sure if services constitutes the same thing as products. That would need to be a clarification that I would have if I was their privacy lawyer, right? But essentially, we need to outline in which context do these apply, and are the cookies being collected in the same manner for the website and for the services? Because that's also a detail that a consumer might want to have. Obtaining information related to cookies and tracking technologies is crucial for businesses, because what they want to do is collect data, right? They want to collect data on all of us. They want to know how we shop, the types of web pages that we look on, right? If you went onto my Amazon, you would probably see a lot of cleaning products, because I'm very interested in cleaning products. Now that Amazon knows I'm interested in cleaning products, they can continue to send me ads saying, hey, Funmi likes to clean, right? So let's tell her about this new product. And they're able to collect that data generally based on how I interact with their site on Amazon, right? I just give that as an example because sometimes I think it's easier for businesses and individuals to understand what really goes into it and why do I keep talking about privacy. But the reason being is because that data on me interacting with Amazon is crucial for Amazon to continue to say, hey, that's what I'm interested in. Amazon is not going to be presenting me things related to a Labubu because I've never clicked on a Labubu. But now they have insights that I'm constantly buying cleaning products on Amazon because I like to clean. So they collect that data about me based on the notice they present me as an Amazon customer. And then I have the option to opt out of those that are not vital for the site to function. I have that right. They have to have a legal basis before they collect that information. The general legal basis that most companies rely on is consent. Now, there's many legal bases, and we're not going to go into all of them today because I really want to focus on the cookie aspect, and I want my videos to be more valuable to businesses to be able to understand, what goes into the creation of these notices that are a requirement under many data protection laws. And that's why generally when you're interacting with sites, you are going to see a privacy notice. I don't know any sites in 2026 without one. So they're very, very important pieces or documents that are portrayed to consumers. And I'm a consumer of this website, so this applies to me. Now, the last thing I want to talk about for this review is I wasn't presented with a cookie banner or a preference center, which I think are very important. And we can see here that this particular organization uses targeting cookies. Now, what are these? These third-party cookies are placed by third-party advertising platforms or networks to collect information about your visits and actions on certain pages of our websites so we can deliver ads for relevant Cloudflare products and services to you later. Now, I had mentioned an example of this with Amazon, right? Amazon can see I'm constantly clicking on cleaning products, right? So there are certain tracking technologies that let Amazon know this is what Funmi likes. So let's keep presenting her with these products. And I don't know if you've seen now, when you've purchased something on Amazon, let's say 3 months ago, you'll start seeing ads 3 months later that you need to replace that product because that's information they're collecting on us. And that's what they're detailing here in the notice. So as a website visitor, am I, Funmi, okay with this action happening? Okay, let's just say I'm not okay with it, right? The next question is, how do I opt out? How do I opt out of these third-party cookies being placed by these third-party advertising platforms? Okay, let's go down. Let's see. Your privacy choices. Okay, let's click it. So, very good. We've got the preference center. Now, the flow here is a bit different. The flow here is that I had to locate the button and then I had to open the preference center. In other geographies, the obligation on businesses is they have to present you a banner first and then present you the opportunity to opt in to certain cookies. Now, if I click this, you can see it's all turned on, right? You might be asking, why is it turned on? I'll tell you why. Because there's certain information that's been fed back to this organization. Now, I'm presuming, I don't know for a fact. I don't know what their preference center looks like, but I can give an opinion based on it's likely they've identified I'm accessing this site from the United States, and they recognize that their obligation in the United States is to give me the opportunity to opt out, which is what I'm going to do, right? Anything that is not required, I'm opting out. Strictly necessary, don't have the option. But the obligation they have to me as a website visitor in the United States is opting out, which I've just done. In other geographies, these would need to be toggled to off because the consumers or the residents in those countries have the opportunity to opt in. So I'm going to confirm my choices. That's the end of my review here. I hope you found this valuable. If you have comments, leave a comment below and I'll see you in another review.